Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Thursday, June 2nd, 2022, and I am Brian. As always, I've come here to chew bubblegum and to talk managed comics, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Sorry, I have to do that because, well, love the movie They Live. You're noticing a slightly different layout. I've just literally moved over 2 feet, but it just kind of changes the framing of me behind. Fun, right? Isn't that great? Yeah, it looks like I'm gonna have to do some work on the lighting over here because I see that I'm kind of missing some fun lighting. Oh, that's because there's portfolio at the top that's kind of blocking things off. All right. Well, this is going to be an exciting thought stream. We are going to talk about our roadmap, which is all about the future. We're also going to talk about what's happening next week, because you may notice that there's no thought stream scheduled for next week. And why is that? Well, I will tell you later. But I do have the next, I think, 3 thought streams planned out. And one of those on the 29th of June will be a pre-recorded thing. So I'll record it and we'll do a live airing, but yeah, I won't be around for it because I will be in Michigan. So let's start out by talking about this week. So I just want to do some house cleaning right now. I want you to smash that like button. I want you to subscribe to Managed Comics on YouTube, and yeah, let's try and hit a bajillion views on YouTube. No, it's really, really helpful to get the message out. The more people that see our videos and that share our videos and that like our videos, the more that we get, to reach more people. And I feel like everybody deserves to know about Managed Comics because it's awesome. Also, like us on Facebook if you haven't already. If you still use Facebook or social media in general, lovely to be liked. Follow us on Instagram. So Instagram's where I post highlights. We're also posting a weekly store. So one of the stores that uses Managed Comics right now, there are 145 stores using Managed Comics, either classic or 2.0. So that's pretty exciting. We're getting up into we're in the triple digits, and I think this is just going to grow from here, and I'm really excited. I'm super passionate about the product, and I think it's pretty fun. BD Cosmos says, "Only fair if you also like and subscribe to our monthly top 10 books to subscribe to, and top 10 specs videos." Will do. I will like and subscribe both of those. And hey, if you guys have YouTube channels and you want to shout them out here, do it, because I think all of us together make all of us better. So yeah, absolutely, Julian. I will shout that out. We are coming to Michigan in June, so we'll be going from Port Huron through to Detroit. I'm going to see AEW Wrestling on June 29th. So my son and I are going to visit. We've already planned at least 5 stores. We'll definitely be coming to Comic City, Ben's Comic Oasis, and Time Traveler Comics. There's a couple shops. There's one in Port Huron that we'll be visiting on our way up, and then there's another one just kind of off the highway on the way up. But those 3 in Michigan or in Detroit we'll be visiting for sure. But if you have a shop that's in or around Detroit, let us know. Like I said, so we're coming from kind of the northern entrance, Sarnia, just because it's an hour away from where I live. And then we'll be shooting up. So yeah, for sure. If you've got a shop and you want us to visit, I'm going to be reaching out to a lot of the shops in Michigan in the coming weeks, and we would love to see your shop, and we'll talk and do a little video. I'd like to do a video feature for a bunch of shops that will be posted the following week after we're away. So we are going to, today we're going to review our roadmap, but I encourage you guys at any time to go to roadmap.managedcomics.com, and you will see what we're working on, what's in the backlog, and what we've accomplished recently. The accomplished recently is, I believe it's like chronological based on what we did the most recently. The in progress, there will only be one or two things in progress at any given time. I noticed today there were like four. That was wrong. So I went in and just adjusted it. So there's two. The to do is stuff that I'm either actively BAing, which means I'm creating like business rules around and the specs for the developers to have, or that we are kind of sitting on. And we'll talk about one of those things in particular. Vote on our features. So you can see our upcoming features. You can request a feature and you can vote on features all at roadmap.managedcomics.com. Click on the features and request something, or even just as good, vote up something that already is on there. So I'll tell you right now, one of the features that I had completely ignored when I went in the last couple of days and took a look at the voting, it's so high that it's the number one thing that I'll be working on the next week. So, vote on things, and we'll talk about exactly what that is. So here's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about the Managed Comics update, the most recent things that were released. Two of them that are kind of significant that we'll talk about. We're going to talk about what we're working on, and then we'll do some questions and answers. So let's just get through a couple of the things that we created. One of them was specifically for our stores that use the BinderPause point of sale system. We have an action which is called fulfill and restock on the individual order. So you can click on an individual order or multiple orders. You click on fulfill and restock, and what it does is it marks it as it marks all the items in an order as basically picked up. So we have some logic in the background that says this was purchased. Then it shoves all the product over to Shopify, so that now your stock quantities are proper. And then you can do your transaction at the till and check that person out, using your BinderPause check-in doohickeys, and your stock will all be right. So that's something we have now that we've added just for our BinderPause stores. We will probably add a feature in the future. That's a tongue twister. That will kind of hide this for non-BinderPause stores. But this was specifically built for you folks. Yeah, Julian, nice. He likes it. So yeah, that's why that's there. The other thing we did is in the data system only. We haven't actually introduced the front end for this. Is we added storylines. So we have publishers' dates, number of titles. We've already created them for Dark Crisis, Hulk Grand Design, Demon Days, Batman White Knight, Judgment Day. There's something coming up, Ms. Marvel. There's like 3 Ms. Marvel one-shots. The next phase of this will be to get this into the front end. We're going to be working on that soon, and we're just literally architecting how this works, because it sounds like it's really simple, but it's not, because you can have a series that's part of a storyline that's also something they're subscribed to. So with Dark Crisis, it crosses over to Flash. Well, if the customer's already subscribed to Flash and they're in the Dark Crisis storyline, we don't want to pull them 2 copies of Flash. So we have to do some logic around that. And it's we've gone back and forth on how we're going to do that logic. So that will be coming up next. But here's what we're actually working on. And you know what? I think probably the easiest way to show this would be for me to actually literally pull up the roadmap. So why don't I share an actual screen? Boom. So this is my actual roadmap screen. So the 2 projects we're going to work on are allowing customers to only subscribe to A and B covers. There's a lot of problems with having customers being able to subscribe from A to the letter Z and back again, because consistently A and B are the only covers that really exist. And nobody really subscribes to a C cover. They subscribe to the Peach Momoko cover. Unfortunately, there's no way for us to identify a Peach Momoko cover as always the Peach Momoko cover. So for now, the only thing we're going to allow is for A and B covers, because we know those are fairly consistent. If the B cover is not available, if it's a ratioed cover, for example, that will not get pulled for them. So we will not allow subscriptions to ratioed covers, because that's causing all kinds of problems. So that's a feature that we're going to be working on in the next few days. That should be out relatively early next week. Please excuse while I do my weekly fiddling with my microphone, because I'm pretty sure it's falling in my face. The other thing is, as a store using the Shopify point of sale, I need a Shopify point of sale app. So we're actually going to work on a true Shopify POS app for Shopify POS customers. I'm actually going to go a little bit into this in another slide, because I have, maybe we'll go back to this guy here. Is there a way I can see this guy better? Yeah, there we go. So we're going to build something that does both draft orders and also manage comics orders. So what you'll be able to do is actually take all the items out of either a draft order or a managed comics order and shove them into your cart. And in that process, it's going to clear out the draft order or clear out the order from managed comics. So there'll probably be, I'm hoping we can figure out a way to do this in one thing without you having to go back into the draft orders and close that draft order or that managed comics order. I'm not sure if that's realistic. So the way that draft orders for POSs work right now, after you've created the draft order into a cart order, you still have to close out that order somehow. By taking managed comics orders and turning them into cart orders will eliminate the whole process where emails get sent out for draft orders. That's unavoidable. That's just a Shopify thing that's in there. But what we'll also be able to do is keep all of your discount percentages and everything, so you don't have to shove those in. And it may take upwards of 20 seconds for this transaction to happen, but you're not going to be sitting there scanning a bunch of things in and changing prices. So yes, it may take a little bit more time, but I think overall it's going to speed things up greatly. So allowing customers to only subscribe to A and B covers, that's one of the major things. And then I've got a bunch of stuff on our backlog, which are, so just because it's on the backlog, I only want to have 2 things in progress at any given time, because I only have 2 developers. So it's not fair to have a bunch of things in progress that we can't prioritize them. In practice, we only have 2 things. About the ratio variants, if a customer actually wanted all of the 1 in 25s for Batman, is that something the shop could set up, or would the shop have to remember that customer X wants them each month? So the customer would have to pre-order each one of those 1 in 25s every month. If somebody's looking for all 1 in 25s, so right now we don't allow there's no way for you to subscribe to the 1 in 25s or the 1 in 10s or the 1 in 100s, because the letter changes every month. So this month, the Batman 1 in 25 is, cover D. But later this month, and this has happened before, that could be cover G. And the cover D, as happened with World's Finest, which was the Jerry Seinfeld cover, suddenly becomes open order. So it was the 1 in 10, became open order. And then they created a new 1 in 10, which became cover F or something like that. So there's no way currently for you to do this. I don't see a way of doing it unless we said subscribe to ratio variants. And that just seems dangerous, because there's so many rules around the ratios, like in terms of, a lot of people are following a specific artist. So they're looking for the 1 in 10 Peach Momoko cover. But if that cover is like a Lee Weeks cover and it's a 1 in 10, do they care? I'd argue that the Peach Momoko customer doesn't care that Lee Weeks is doing the 1 in 10. Customers who subs to the 1 in 25 Valiant, I just have them set up separately or pre-order his account. Yeah, I think that's the only way you can do it reasonably. Or you could go in every month and you go, Bob Smith always gets the 1 in 25s. Pre-order him the 1 in 25s. You could do that for sure. I hear you, Dream Days, and I think it would be a great ideal situation, but I don't think it's actually something that's going to happen. So the front end storylines stuff is one of the things that I've already spec'd out, and we've figured out kind of how we'll do it. We have to finish off our things for it. I have our initial order phase 1, which has all the extra information completely spec'd out. We've just decided to inject the POS thing and the customers A and B, because those are immediate problems that are causing problems for everyone, and folks can kind of live with the initial orders the way they are. Martin asks, can we create unique items each month for a specific book that is a ratio cover? So Martin, you cannot create items in Managed Comics 2.0. Those are all created on our database backend, and we don't add things that aren't available from a publisher. So I don't think I understand the question. I'm going to say no, though. You can't create unique items. But you could definitely sign people up for an existing ratio cover. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. Okay. Is that it? Really? That's the only things that I'm talking about? Well, that doesn't seem right. Let me just go back to the roadmap. So add customer-facing FAQ and directions throughout the site. This is something that's the number one voted on request in the roadmap stuff. So I'm actually going to start speccing this out. I know exactly how I'm going to do it. There's a service called, just looking at it, it's called like Instructable or something like that. And it will actually create little pop-ups all over the screen, so that the first time somebody goes to these pages, they'll be able to get basically like a walkthrough of how the service works. So for sure, I'll start working on that. I've always had this in the back of my head, but there's really been the idea was to build something that was intuitive, that customers wouldn't need a bunch of directions, but I get it. It gets confusing. More detail in the weekly FOC report. I think this one I can actually solve just with business logic. We already have 2 weekly FOC reports, and this one's specifically saying, I'd like to see the titles in the weekly FOC report. I believe that there's like a download file, and then there's something that's called like the FOC report. And if there's not, we have this for the initial orders, so we could do the same logic on FOCs. So I'm just going to check out and see if this is something I can quickly knock off. And if we do, there might be like a small little code change that I have to ask the guys to make, but I think it's like super simple. So sometimes, even though it's the 4th thing down on the list, if it's something that we can get done in an hour, I might just accelerate it because it's super easy. As a store, I need to be able to subscribe a customer to an inactive series. So this came up because Human Target is currently inactive, and folks wanted to subscribe people to Human Target. So this is something that we'll have to make available. Weighted search results towards ongoing series. Our search is kind of wonky as it is, and I understand this request completely. This will take some doing on the actual search part. Offering second and other alternative printings for order by customers. So the first phase of this is actually creating the data that will do that. We've been asking for all of the distributors to start providing us with a new field called printing. And surprisingly, I noticed this one in Penguin Random House this month, and I think I noticed it in Lunar. There was another one that where it's like, oh, they're offering that field now. So it's being done. And then we've got a plan for how to kind of account for it for anybody that isn't offering it. Display second and subsequent printings and show upcoming covers better. So this is actually for the customer end so that we can, and I think, I don't know if I have, yeah, I have a picture of it. So we'll show alternate printings on the actual pages. And then last but not least, I still have this as a goal, check UPC codes before creating a new version of a product in Shopify. So Taras and I have talked this over, and I think this is fairly easy to do going forward. We want to figure out if we can go back in time and fix it previously. So the idea is we can put what's called a meta tag on things with the UPC code, and then we can check that UPC code when we're checking something in. And if its SKU is different from what the UPC code is, if its SKU is different than the one that exists, we'll double check against the UPC code and then import the product in to something that already has an existing SKU. I just kind of realized that this was possible a couple of weeks ago when we were playing around with some other things, a couple of days ago. So I'm hoping that this is something we can get done. So that's a quick look at what we'll be working on in the next while. Like I said, this stuff here that's in to do is more stuff that I'm working on, finishing specs on, or in some cases we've just bumped it a little bit in order to make sure that stuff that's more important gets out there ASAP. And yeah, there's some waiting on these things. So you'll see this one here has 4 votes on it. So yeah, things can change very, very quickly if you guys are voting on things. 4 votes isn't that many, and we've got 15 people here right now. If everybody suddenly wanted to see second printings, we'd get that up to number 1 pretty darn quick. So keep that in mind. I think that's it in terms of the roadmap stuff. Let me find where we are. Anybody else have any questions? Remove that guy. I can add this guy back because that's where we are. We're in the Ask Me Anything phase of the thing. While I wait for questions, because I know it takes you guys a couple seconds to, you're a couple seconds behind my live voice, so I'll wait a couple seconds. But in the meantime, I'm going to talk about our road shows. So we're going to do road shows this month in June. I'm going to go up to Niagara Falls, might hit Hamilton on the way to Niagara Falls. I have overestimated my trips in the past, so we'll see about that. Definitely we'll be hitting Detroit at the end of the month. In July, I'm going to hit the GTA region, so Greater Toronto area. So we're definitely going to enter the battlefield in Oakville, because they are the latest Managed Comics 2 shop. And we'll visit a bunch of shops in kind of the GTA area. I'm probably going to hit kind of the northern GTA, so Markham. I may go as far as like Pickering and maybe even visit my buddies at Comic Book Addiction in Whitby. Probably stay away from downtown core area because that would take me a day and a half just to navigate down there. And everything changes so quickly there. In August, we'll be visiting Chicago. Specifically, we're going to go visit Challengers, and my son and I are going to go to C2E2. I think we're going to visit on the Sunday for the C2E2, and hopefully we can stop by Challengers on Monday. Or we might visit them like late Sunday. In September, upstate New York, so we'll be doing Buffalo, Ithaca, maybe Rochester, kind of that area of upstate New York. So yeah, look for September. October, I'm not sure where we'll go, but definitely there's definitely a couple different possibilities, like Pennsylvania. And then I think, Yeah, November, I'm actually going away for a wedding, so I don't think we'll be going anywhere in November. And then it starts to get too cold to drive anywhere. We got 2 questions here. Question number 1. Let me come here. Sorry, I might have missed it, but each week when I do my FOC ordering, the list that shows up by default is the previous week. Yeah, so you have to upload your FOC file every week. And once you've uploaded that file every week, so you get that file from the distributors, and on Manage Comics, there's instructions on where to go to get that. And I'll just pop that up real quick. Add this guy back to the stream. So if we go to the FACs, where do I go to get my FOC files? We have where you go to get your FOC files from Diamond, from Lunar, and from Penguin Random House. Once you've uploaded them into the system, you're going to go to, let's go to ordering. You're going to hit the little button that says, this picture is so old. I need to update the new picture. The FOC file has a regenerate orders. So when you go back to it, you're going to want to hit it again and take a look at anything that's changed. So that's one way we do that. Have to download the file from the distributor to get current list. I thought the Managed Comics would show the current week FOC by default. No, you have to get the file from your distributor. So yeah, I know how to do that. Just thought it worked differently before. No, it's this one's always been like that because we don't really know what's on the individual publishers' FOCs anymore. Back in the day when it was just Diamond, Diamond actually had an FOC file that we could download every week, and it would just indicate all the things that were up for FOC. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So, plus the FOC file has the quantities you currently have on order, which we don't really know. Infinity Flux says, last week my customers were unable to order Iron Cat because it was listed as past FOC. Any advice how to deal with this? Currently, we're having customers email us the books they can't order. Yeah, so can I be totally honest? This is a complete and total mess and a disaster, and I don't know short term how to solve it. Longer term, we definitely have some plans. I'm going to be updating the FOC and release dates weekly starting next week. This most recent catalog, 88 items after they were released by Diamond, 88 items from Marvel were removed from the catalog. The only way we knew about that, by the way, is because Penguin Random House emailed us and said 88 items had been removed from the catalog that were released by Diamond. So we were able to remove them from the catalog. But, books are 3 and 4 months late right now. And Diamond doesn't have any sort of neither does Lunar. Diamond and Lunar don't have update files that we can download about dates. Penguin Random House does. So anything that's available from Penguin Random House, we'll be able to update the dates. And then we're going to retroactively update them for the other distributors if they also offer those things. So yeah, I'm sorry. The data is terrible right now. And it's because things are so late right now. And we're working to maintain it. It's a full-time job. I have a full-time person working on updating the data. And that's kind of ridiculous because I'm pretty sure the distributors should be providing us with proper dates. Martin says, I don't know if this has been covered, but where are we on the prepay feature? So Shopify does not allow pre-authorization of credit cards in any way, shape, or form. It will actually have my app license revoked and your Shopify payments feature revoked. So they're very, very explicit about that. So that will never happen for Shopify. We are going to be doing some pre-order stuff where people will be able to add a pre-order payment for items, but those are for individual things. It won't be like an account wide thing. So we don't have that, and I don't anticipate us ever having it. And to be honest, I think that's a feature that Managed Comics Classic will lose soon because the credit card companies don't want to allow that. You can pre-authorize a set amount, but you're not supposed to pre-authorize uh, whatever that's called, flexible amount. So yeah, unfortunately, that is not something we can offer. Sorry, I hate to leave that on a down note. We will be working on the pre-order payments thing later in the summer, and it's kind of our big project. I have a big secret project that I'm not allowed to talk about yet, but that is probably pre-order prepayments is kind of one of the main projects for later in the summer that I'd really like to have done before September. Where's my slides? Yeah. So next week, if you've noticed from our calendar, we don't have anything scheduled for next week. And I usually schedule things 2 weeks out in advance. And that's because Dan Shaheen from Comic Book News is going to have us on again. I've been on a couple times. The last time I was on was like, I want to say August or September of last year when we were still in beta. And while I was demoing things were breaking live on air. But the site is super stable. And, actually, something that I haven't talked about is we just upgraded all of our servers and the size and everything of our server cluster. So we were having some problems that we were running out of space due to logs. What happens is, like, every time that somebody visits a Managed Comics page, a tiny little file gets added. Those files add up over time, and we recycle them once a month, but it was getting so busy that we were recycling once a week. So yeah, we upgraded all of our servers. It took a long time because it's a dangerous thing to do, and we have to move a bunch of different stuff. So yeah, it took us a little bit of time, but I'm super happy with where we are, and it's we're more kind of flexible and stable than ever. So knock on wood. Always knock on wood when you start talking about stability. So yeah, I'm really excited about kind of the future, and we're able to handle probably 200 stores on the current load before we have to move to another server cluster, and we'll do that when we get there. That's one thing about kind of cloud-based systems, is that we scale as we start to hit the needs of the platform. So we can double it up, almost triple it up before we have to move again. So that is exciting news. Yeah, so next week, check us out on Dan Shaheen's Comic Book News. I'll make sure that I send out an invite and everything to everybody before, just like I do every week on the Thoughtstreams. And then the week after that, I'm doing something that we're calling office hours. So I'm going to accumulate a bunch of questions between now and then. So things that we get questions about fairly regularly. One of them, and I'll answer it right now, being like, we get questions sometimes from people that say, hey, we created our orders and the products didn't get created in Shopify. What's going on? Well, what usually happens is it means that you've hit a threshold. Stores that have more than 10,000 products in their Shopify product database are only allowed to update 1,000 variants a day. So if you did your pulls and you already reached that threshold, they get paused. Now at midnight, we push all of those paused jobs again back to Shopify. And usually those will get processed at that point. But if you do notice that, it means that you've hit a threshold. We're trying to capture that error and like be able to send you a message that says you've reached your threshold. That's one of the reasons that I've got a dashboard on the works, is because I want to be able to present that kind of information there. So yeah, that is definitely something that we'll be talking about in our office hours. And then if you guys have any questions, that'll be a great time to answer as many questions as possible. So yeah, that'll do it for that. I think that is going to do it for this week. So if anybody has any questions, as always, just hit us up at help@managedcomics.com. And I see that Taras is watching me on the YouTubes. Yeah, hit us up at help@managedcomics.com, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. And in the meantime, and in between times, keep managing those comics, folks. I don't know. I need a catchphrase, and that one is terrible. I'm sorry. I'll be better next time. All right. Thanks, everyone. And we will see you next week on Comic Book News with Dan Shaheen.